The United States would significantly bolster the military capabilities of Kazakhstan and Azerbaijan. Similar to the U.S. plan in Georgia, the $135 million program would create a network of commando and special operations forces that would protect the lucrative oil and gas exploitation being plotted out by transnational oil corporations and patrol the massive pipeline project that would allow an easy flow of the hydrocarbon resources of the Caspian to Western markets. But oil and gas were only part of the story. While the Caspian's resources were undoubtedly viewed by Washington as a major prize to be secured, Azerbaijan's geographic proximity to the center of the administration's broader attempt at conquest of the Middle East was also incredibly valuable. With open talk of the possibility of a U.S. attack on Iran and several reports detailing military planning for such operations as part of the War on Terror, many of Tehran's neighbors, particularly those directly on its border, such as Azerbaijan, were very resistant to the overt presence of U.S. forces on their soil. Iran had made clear that it would retaliate against any state that supported the United States in an attack. As the Caspian Guard program got underway in 2004, the Azerbaijani parliament adopted a law prohibiting the stationing of foreign troops on the country's territory, a move widely believed to be a gesture towards Moscow and Tehran, which both oppose any strengthening of military ties between Azerbaijan and the U.S., reported the Eurasia Net news service. But despite the overtures to Washington's foes, the reality was that Azerbaijan was on the receiving end of a massive new pipeline of U.S. military assistance. Enter Blackwater. In early 2004, with the United States ratcheting up its rhetoric against Axis of Evil member Iran, Blackwater USA was hired by the Pentagon under Caspian Guard to deploy in Azerbaijan, where Blackwater would be tasked with establishing and training an elite Azari force modeled after the U.S. Navy SEALs that would ultimately protect the interests of the United States and its allies in a hostile region. The $2.5 million Army contract for a one-year project indicated that it was open for competition, but that Blackwater was the only company to bid on it. On Pentagon documents, the nature of Blackwater's work in Azerbaijan was kept vague, only mentioning training aids and armament training devices. Despite the secrecy, one thing was clear. Blackwater had once again found itself at the forefront of a pet Bush administration project. We've been asked to help create, for lack of a more educated term, a SEAL team for Azerbaijan, both to help them with their oil interests in the Caspian, but also to kind of monitor what goes on in the Caspian during the wee hours of the night, said Blackwater's tailor. These are very, very politically sensitive issues. Blackwater joined a U.S. corporate landscape in Baku that included other Bush administration-linked corporations, such as Bechtel, Halliburton, Chevron, Texaco, Unocal, and ExxonMobil. Some analysts viewed Caspian Guard and the Blackwater contract as a backdoor U.S. military deployment. We were hired to come in and build by the U.S. government, to build a maritime special operations capability in Azerbaijan, said Blackwater founder Eric Prince at a U.S. military conference in 2006. We took over an old Spetsnaz, Soviet Special Forces, base and built about a 90-man Azari high-end unit. Prince called Blackwater's Azerbaijan's work a great small footprint way to do it. Instead of sending in battalions of active U.S. military to Azerbaijan, the Pentagon deployed civilian contractors from Blackwater and other firms to set up an operation that would serve a dual purpose, protecting the West's new profitable oil and gas exploitation in a region historically dominated by Russia and Iran, and possibly laying the groundwork for an important forward operating base for an attack against Iran. Compared with the U.S. efforts to train and equip troops in neighboring Georgia, training Azerbaijan's commandos was a relatively low-profile program, observed Central Asia correspondent Nathan Hodge. It's understandable. The country is sandwiched between Russia and Iran, and sending a contingent of uniformed U.S. military trainers would be a provocative move. A private contractor helps keep things under the radar. One indication of the strategic importance of Azerbaijan comes from the list of names associated with the U.S. Azerbaijan Chamber of Commerce, an organization formed in 1995 to facilitate and encourage trade and investment in Azerbaijan, and to serve as a liaison between foreign companies and Azerbaijani businesses and officials. Its Council of Advisors reads like a who's who of the hawks of the Reagan-Bush era: James Baker III, Henry Kissinger, John Sununu, and Brent Scowcroft. The board of directors includes senior executives from ExxonMobil, Chevron, ConocoPhillips, and Coca-Cola, while the trustees include Azerbaijan's dictator, Ilham Aliyev, and top neoconservative Richard Pearl. Listed as former officials of the organization are none other than Dick Cheney and Richard Armitage. "These men are the power behind the throne in Azerbaijan," observed investigative journalist Tim Shorrock, adding that Blackwater's deployment would be impossible to imagine without a nod from one of these principals. A March 2004 Blackwater recruitment ad sought a manager to oversee the contract to train, equip, and permanently establish a naval special operations unit in the Azerbaijan Armed Forces. The announced salary was $130,000 to $150,000 annually. Blackwater referred to the project as part of a Maritime Commando Enhancement Program. "The Caspian Sea is a region of interest for many, many reasons," said Blackwater Vice President Chris Taylor at a conference on contracting in 2005, where he held up Blackwater's Azerbaijan work as evidence of successful U.S. government contracting to help allied governments build up their forces. "This is not a zero-sum game. We're not trying to take as much of the pie and leave the government with nothing so we can get as much money as we possibly can. It just doesn't work out that way. And if you want quote-unquote repeat business, if you want to have a solid reputation, it's actually affecting the strategic balance in an area for the government or assisting in doing that, then you've got to be part of that give and take. And we like to think that we do that on a daily basis." Caspian Guard appeared to be part of a strategy Defense Secretary Rumsfeld had articulated publicly in a visit to the region in early 2004. At a press conference in Uzbekistan on February 24th of that year, Rumsfeld revealed that he and other senior U.S. officials had been discussing the establishment of operating sites in the area, which he described as facilities that would not be permanent as a base would be permanent, but would be a place where the United States and coalition countries could periodically and intermittently have access and support. "What's important to us is to be arranged in a way and in places that are hospitable, where we have the flexibility of using those facilities." In Georgia, where the Pentagon has also deployed private military contractors, a Western diplomat told The Guardian that the United States was considering creating a forward operational area where equipment and fuel could be stored, similar to support structures in the Gulf. The two moves would combine to give Washington a virtual base, stored equipment, and a loyal Georgian military, without the diplomatic inconvenience of setting up a permanent base, according to the paper. That appeared to be the strategy with Blackwater in Azerbaijan as well. In strategically important Baku, Blackwater renovated a Soviet-era maritime special operations training facility that Pentagon planners envisioned as a command center, modeled on those used by the Department of Homeland Security. As part of Caspian Guard, the United States also contracted defense giant and Iraq war contractor Washington Group International to construct a radar surveillance facility in Estarah, just north of the Iranian border, one of two such facilities built under the program. The other was positioned atop a mountain south of Russia's North Caucasus region, not far from Chechnya. Washington also renovated the nearby Nakhichevan airport to accommodate military aircraft, including from NATO. In the meantime, encouraged by its cozy relationship with Washington, Azerbaijan dramatically increased its military spending by 70% in 2005 to $300 million. By the end of